Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we have an art journal tutorial where we're going to create our own collage papers to use on this page. We're going to use lots of stencils, and this one, it's super easy and fun. So to prepare for the border, I am going to need some red, and I am brayering on the paint onto this is copy paper. I'm going horizontally and vertically. I want that mottled look. I'm not even worried that there was a little bit of black on there because I want this to look rustic and vintage. And that's just adding interest to the background. I made 2 of these sheets and then I splattered with gold for a little bling. Now for the trees that I'm going to use, I want green. And I'm doing the same thing, but this time I've chosen to do this on it's tag board, but I'm doing the same thing, going horizontally and vertically. I want that variation. That's just going to add to my trees without doing a whole lot of work. And because I'm not sure how many I'm going to need, I am doing a couple sheets. I've got the mess out, so I might as well do extra, knowing full well that I can use the rest. It could go into my stash, or I could do something similar to this art journal page on a Christmas card with any of the leftovers. I brayered yellow oxide and Naples yellow onto the mixed media, Canson mixed media paper. I'm not sure what happened to that footage. I also put a little bit of white on it, and now I'm stenciling with this fence grid stencil. I'm going all over, but I could have just gone in certain areas where that would be showing through. I'm using white gesso instead of white acrylic paint. It's less opaque. I just want to have a whole lot of pattern on my background and interest. So I'm bumping the stencil, moving it forward, lining it up, and continuing. I love stencils where you can do that. It's easy to move it without worrying too much about lining up. It makes it easy. So I'm giving that a quick dry, and I'm going to add another layer of stencils on the background. And this time I'm using the yellow oxide, and I'm going with this punch card slimline stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. I think in total I use 5 or 6 stencils. You can totally vary the stencils that you use and get a similar effect. Use what you have, but I will put the names of these and links in the affiliate links down below. I'm loving this background, the interest, but I want to add a little bit of script stamp, so I grab my archival ink and I'm stamping on. This also is grunging it up a bit. It's making it look a little bit more rustic or vintage. Loving the background. Now I'm ready to add pattern to the collage papers that we brayered the paint onto. This is called Buffalo Plaid stencil, and I'm going with black. I tried putting the black first and then putting the green. I like it better with the green first and then the black on top, but you can play with different color combos and do what you like best. So I'm just lining up the stencil here again and filling the whole page. Now this is the 6-inch stencil. There is a 12-inch stencil. And there's also a sign stencil in Buffalo Plaid, and there are 3 different sizes of Buffalo Plaid. This one's called Minidots, and I am stenciling that on, again with black. Now, I could have chosen to do the trees in different colors and with different colors stenciling. I mean, the sky's the limit. But I chose to keep it all green and with black stenciling. So there's the mini dot. I love how these look together. This one's called Chevron. It is an old favorite of mine. So this one has kind of triangular shapes. I have the dots and then I have the squares. And then I'm going to cut some trees are going to be just green, just the brayered on green. Now you could have taped down the stencil if you have trouble with the stencil moving. Here I want to have fairly good. I'm loving, loving, loving the look of those. So now I want to put the buffalo plaid on the red. This one I'm taping it down. That's because the copy paper is very light and I find that it moves very easily, whereas the tag board didn't. Just giving myself a little extra help. This simply takes time. Don't rush it by trying to get too much paint on your makeup sponge. You'll regret it because it'll smudge underneath. And for this, while it doesn't have to be perfect, I do want it to be close to perfect because it's going on my focal image. There, I did that one. I lined that one up perfectly. Here, I think I goof. See if you can catch the mistake. But you can see in the middle there, I overlapped the stencil incorrectly, but it gives another pattern. So you can deliberately do that and get a different kind of plaid look. So there are my green pages, and I'm really happy with the patterns that I've chosen. So now I'm going to cut trees. Now you can get templates for trees if you wish. I am going super simple here. I am just cutting different sizes of triangles. And again, at this point, I don't know what's going to work, so I'm cutting more than I need. Anything that's left over, I am going to make into Christmas cards that are going to look exactly like this. As I go, I'm cutting different sizes, shapes. Some are thinner, some are wider, some are taller. And I'm starting to play with the composition. And I spend a lot of time off camera moving it around, trying it this way, trying it that way. There is no right or wrong. There's just what you choose to do, what looks good to you. And so I start additioning and trying different ways of organizing these trees. Again, no right or wrong, just how you like it. And I'm cutting them off. I'm making some of them shorter. I'm making some skinnier. It's a work in progress. I knew I was going to layer trees. with the different patterns, but I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. So I'm figuring it out as I go. And that's what you're going to have to do too. So now I want to cut the border for the top. I love the buffalo plaid. Now this pattern, or the idea for this, actually I got from Pinterest, but quilting, or this was like a placemat, and this was different, materials, different patterned materials. So that is a great source of ideas. Stained glass is another one. They give you lots of ideas of things that you can then tweak up and use for art journal page composition. So I really want to have the plaid, the red plaid on the top and the bottom. And so I decide, my trees need tree trunks. So I grab some black and some brown, and I'm just painting this on the tag board. And then to add interest, I'm using my shelf liner with black paint just to add some more pattern. And that's going to work well with the buffalo plaid patterning that's already there. So I cut those into strips, and now I'm liking how the trees look with the trunks. It just was missing before. Now, of course, this makes it a little bit more difficult because now I'm thinking I don't want to put the red on the bottom, but it looks like something's missing if I don't. I had to piece the top to get the right size. So I'm thinking, what if I put only a single strip down here? No, I really like the matching top and bottom. So I decided I'm going to move the trees up a little bit, where even couple of the trees overlap on top of the red border. So now that I know what I want, I finalized the composition basically. Now I'm looking at my trees and I have to go glue down first what needs to go down first. So this top part with the plaid needs to go because that one tall tree in the middle on the left hand side, sorry, is overlapping. So you have to figure out what needs to go first. What's underneath all of it? I'm using fluid matte medium here to glue everything down. And I'm keeping that border on the bottom. That's going to be glued on at the end, but I'm keep putting it there because I want to make sure that my trunks go down that far. I'm trying, with the different size of trees, I also want them to be at different heights. That one was a little long, so cutting it off. So I'm just tweaking as I go. So now we're moving to the right side of the page. What goes under first gets glued first. This is where taking a picture also is helpful because then you can refer back to it. And I decided to go with an odd number of trees. They say that that usually works better for composition. And then I'm putting the border along the bottom. Now this tree was a little too low. I didn't see any trunk and that looked funny to me. So I've lifted it up and raised it up. Once everything's dry, I am now going to shade or outline around all the trees using my floating acrylic shading technique. With black paint, my angle brush, this is going to make the trees stand out. Now, right now, I'm going on top of the tree, on the paper of the tree, and then later on, I go on the yellow background beside it. And I don't show all of this, and I have sped up parts of this video because a lot of it's very repetitious. And of course, once I've glued things down, once I've painted, there's always drying time, and I typically cut all that out, but make sure you're drying it in between those layers. You can see the difference that this shading does to the trees. I have another idea to do with trees that I think I'm going to do it, even though it's going to be two tree videos in close one, because I really like the idea. And so with shading there, I'm going on the yellow paper beside the tree. So I go on the tree and then beside the tree to shade. I also shade on the tree trunks and on the border, the buffalo plaid red and black border. Now, if you don't know how to do this shading acrylic technique, you can use Stabilo all pencil to shade. You can use charcoal pencil. You just have to remember that those aren't permanent and you can't wet them afterwards. But this is on the top layer, so you should be okay. So then I wanted a little bit of snow, so I'm going to splatter with white. I got a splotch, so I'm cleaning it up. And then I'm adding a sentiment. And I was going to type, oh, Christmas tree, O-H, Christmas tree. But when I Googled for the lyrics and stuff, this was how it was, just oh. I picked a font that's somewhat vintage, and I put it off center. Now, I really did think that this was the end, and then I grabbed my white Posca pen and I thought, I wonder if I put some faux stitching. And I liked the look. It made, because the sentiment is white, it just added that little something. And because this came from a quilting pattern, maybe that's why I was thinking stitching. So I'm going to continue and I'm going to do the top plaid and the bottom plaid, and we'll be back. Well, as usual, when I start doodling, I can't stop. So I decided I'm also going to add the faux stitching around the trees. It stands out because I did that shading. Now, if you had used Stabilo all pencil or charcoal, that would dirty up the white of the Posca pen because it would reactivate and bleed through. So there is the finished page. I think this would look absolutely awesome on a Christmas card, and I'll be using my leftovers to do just that. Close-ups are coming. Give me a thumbs up, ask me a question, share my channel with your creative friends. If you're interested in any of the stencils, I'll put the names in the description box in the affiliate links. There's some coupon codes. Bye for now.